right, everyone. Welcome back here once again with the Hammy Show, breaking down an incredible win over Ole Miss. A lot of times it looked like Georgia was out of it, but as we know, there's no give up in this Georgia team. Georgia always finds a way to win. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Hammy, what were your just overall impressions, overall thoughts on the game?
First, what a game. Like you said, I mean, holy cow. Like that is all-time game in Sanford Stadium. So fun to be there. So fun to be in that environment. I think that was the most electric Sanford Stadium has been this year and probably in a long time. I mean, the games that come to mind that match it are Tennessee 2022, maybe LSU 2013, the blackout game. I think it's up there. So it was an electric atmosphere. I think the fans answered the call. Ole Miss shut us down there for a second, and then Georgia quickly got back into it in the fourth quarter when we came up with those big third down stops and then the fourth down stop that inevitably ended the game. So what an offensive performance. I mean, Gunner, that's the immediate name that comes to mind. Obviously, he's playing quarterback, so he's the star of the show anyways, but when the lights got the brightest, he shined too. And I thought it was so awesome to watch him. And maybe this is a little biased and a little, I don't know what you want to call it, but to watch Carson Beck throw 4 interceptions the night before and then Gunnar Stockton do that against a top 5 opponent, that was pretty awesome. And I can't complain. So, hell of a performance, and I'm super excited for the rest of the season after watching an offense like that. And then if we can put together 4 quarters of that defensive performance that we had in the fourth, if we do that for an entire game, man, this team's going to be tough to beat come down the stretch.
Absolutely. I think Bro 60 put out a post. Speaking of which, credit to them on the stripe out. I know it could be improved, but hey, it still looked good. I
Yeah.
think I think most people would agree that it was definitely a good starting spot. But they put out a post that said 2013 LSU 2.0, and I think that's probably the perfect comparison for this game. But moving on a little bit from that, what do you see as Georgia's biggest strength through 7 games of football? What's their biggest strength so far?
I mean, it's hard to say anything but Gunnar Stockton. Like, I think he has taken on the personality of Coach Kirby Smart and how Kirby coaches the game. That's how Gunnar plays. He's cool, calm, collected, and then you put some pads on him, and you see a little fire in his eyes. And I think he has been the biggest strength of this offense. He's been the biggest strength of this team. He's been the leader of this team, and it's been really fun to watch because he was so doubted upon in the preseason and after the Notre Dame game. And even though he won us an SEC championship after coming in that second half, he was largely counted out. And it's awesome to watch because no matter how hard he takes a hit, no matter what happens to him in a game, he's not frazzled. He's just Gunner. And I think it's awesome that you know, he's got that short term memory loss that so many quarterbacks and quarterback coaches talk about, offensive coordinators as well. If you throw a pick, you just get right back out there. If you get sacked, you just get back up and go back to work. And I think that's what Gunner's persona really has been all season long. And when the lights shine the brightest, like I said, he's answered the bell every single time. I mean, I go back to the Tennessee game. That one and this one felt very, very similar in the sense that we needed a massive performance from our quarterback, and we got it. 26 for 31, 289 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. You can't ask for more from your quarterback. So, yeah, the Heisman whispers start. I'm going to ignore that for right now because I just want Gunner to keep being Gunner. And I think he will continue to do so. But other than just Gunner, I mean, I think Bobo has really proven himself as an elite play caller. I think our offense is firing on all cylinders. I think the screen game that so many Georgia fans hated has been the most effective game of our offense, the most effective facet, if you will. And I think our offensive line is coming into form. And then as we saw in the late in the game, our defense can be that elite defense that we thought they were preseason. Now, like I said, we have to put together 4 quarters, 2 whole halves of a complete defensive performance in order for that to be certified, rectified, whatever you want to call it. Like, I think this defense has that firing capability to be one of the best in the country. Those third down stops were massive. And like we said, you had the home crowd behind you. But, man, I mean, And it's so funny because Georgia fans were the most fluctuating, flaky fans. But that Bama game happens and everybody's down and out on Kirby. They're down and out on Schumann, on Bobo, on every single person on the staff, on the team. And then you get a big win like this, and it's like you forget all about it, and we're right back into loving some Georgia football. So I'm stoked, man. I really, that was one of my favorite games I've ever been to in Sanford Stadium. So it's hard not to be excited, looking forward to the rest of the year.
Absolutely. And I had somebody also say the same thing, that it was the best game that they'd ever seen in Sanford Stadium. That would be the case for me, but I had somebody who was like, it's the best Georgia game I've ever been to. And I'm kind of sitting there like, I was blessed enough to be able to go to Georgia, Ohio State. So I can't pick Ole Miss over that one, but it was still pretty special. Probably
Yeah.
my favorite in Sanford for several reasons. Um, but moving on a little bit, from specifically on the field stuff, I guess, in dating with like Ole Miss. Um, what's the biggest advantage of Georgia having this bye week where we have it? What's so big about this bye for Georgia?
I mean, I think it's massive. Obviously, to get healthy, the obvious answers stick out. To get healthy, to game plan against a very talented Florida team. I know I sound like Kirby Smart, and even when Florida's record doesn't show it, they're still a great team. They're still an SEC matchup, and I think this bye week comes significantly in the right place because of the firing of Billy Napier. People call me crazy, but if Billy Napier was the head coach at Florida to this day and going into the Georgia game, I would honestly feel better about Georgia's chances. And that's because we haven't seen what their interim coach is going to do. Like, we don't know how to game plan for this. So having an extra week to look at Florida's tape, look at their how they game plan with this, how they will game plan. It's kind of all speculation, but I think you need that extra week. So I think that's massive. I think their interim coach, I can't remember his name, but he's their running back coach. The only success we've seen big game wise from Florida is that Texas win this year. And what they got to was they got back to the run. Jaden Ball is one of the most elite rushing running backs in the SEC and maybe college football when he is in full force. And that's what got them the win against Texas. So if he's the running backs coach and they got Jaden Ball, man, they're going to hand it off to him a lot. And our rush defense has been very, very strong. It's been probably the strongest point of our defense thus far through 2025. So we can key in on it, but we've got to figure out, how much they're going to go to the rush attack because they still have DJ Lagway at quarterback, and he terrifies me. I don't care if he hasn't had the greatest season, and all that preseason hype that he was maybe expected to live up to has not planned out or worked out in the way that Florida and he wants it to. But I still think he's a dangerous quarterback. And the biggest thing for me with this Florida team is they've got the revenge aspect. With Georgia, anybody that plays us, we're going to have the target on our back. It's their Super Bowl because we're Georgia, and we've beat all these teams for so many consecutive years, like Tennessee, like Auburn, Florida, like eight out of the last 9 meetings we've won. So it's, they've got the revenge aspect. And last year, especially in this Florida game, Carson Beck played terrible. Florida had every right to win that game if DJ Lagway stays healthy. So he maybe come into this game with, a point to prove. So I think this bye week is perfectly timed. And looking at the rest of our season, not just Florida, I think it's also perfectly timed. I think we've got through the main gauntlet of our schedule between Alabama and Ole Miss. We thought Texas would be better. They're not near as good. I'm still scared of Texas because they have all the talent in the world, and it hasn't clicked. So there's still something that there's this unknown that if it clicks, Texas can be the Longhorns that we expected them to be in the off season. So I think just getting healthy and getting our minds right, especially after some emotional wins, some come from behind wins, and even a loss to Alabama. This Georgia team is finding their stride, and this bye week is going to give them time to really perfect that stride, if you will.
Absolutely, I agree. And you mentioned that it might give Florida a little bit of a benefit for us to not really know what to expect from the interim. I think that's totally a fair point. I think whenever you don't really have film on, especially an entire team, you don't know what to expect. Obviously, it didn't really work out the way Billy Napier wanted it to, but I think that's a great point. We just don't know what to expect overall, what they'll bring in 2 weeks. Um, moving on a little bit from I guess the rest aspect and kind of Florida themselves. Back to our talent, our defense, our roster.
Lost you there
Our
for a sec. You
defense, and
there?
it's the craziest thing. Like we allow three straight touchdowns to Tennessee. We stop them one drive, and then they don't
Mhm.
score for like another two quarters. Alabama, they scored every single drive. We stopped them on a drive, and they didn't score again the rest of the game, I don't think, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah.
then last week, obviously, they score the first five drives. We stopped them one single time, and they do nothing the rest of the game. Um, so I guess my point was we find one stop and then we just lock in and shut down the other team. I just want to get your thoughts on that. Like why is it that we just every single time it's just one stop, and then everything just magically seems like it's solved. There's no issues following that one single stop. It's so weird. I can't explain it, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I think it's a momentum thing. I think it's getting the monkey off the back type of thing. I mean, you go back to the Auburn game, and Auburn was moving it at will, like you talked about, and we get the fumble on the goal line, and it just kills their momentum. And there's more to it than just the defense starting to show up. I think that's the bulk of it. But Hugh Freeze also just completely lost confidence in his team, so I think that answers part of the question for the Auburn game. But you know, the Ole Miss thing, it was absolutely wild to see the response in the fourth quarter.
It
Like,
was just an absolute, just
yeah,
complete momentum shift. I've never seen anything like it ever.
no, I haven't either. And like you, everybody talks about these halftime adjustments, and then Kirby starts getting asked about all these halftime adjustments in press conferences, and then halftime adjustments became one of the talking points of the college football universe last week because of what Georgia has done this season. And everybody's like, dude, halftime adjustments don't really mean anything. Like, it's not like we're adjusting anything. We're adjusting throughout the entire course of the game. And I think you saw that evident in against Ole Miss. We come out of the half, Ole Miss gets the ball and they score on the second play from scrimmage. Like, those halftime adjustments were, it seemed non-existent. And then Ole Miss continued to fire on all cylinders, and we kicked a field goal or whatever it was. And then we finally adjust in the fourth quarter. So I think those adjustments are always going on. But it really is so weird that the momentum switch and something just clicked. And I think, you know, the crowd noise was a big, big factor in that. I think the Georgia fans as a whole felt that we had Ole Miss kind of on their heels. Maybe they were about to play a little prevent defense, and maybe they were about to just start running the ball, and all of these kind of factors. And I think the crowd picked up on it, which was really cool to see
I
because
agree.
it started going bonkers. But that first third down stop when we forced them to go three and out, that was the soundest I've seen our defense play three straight plays
Yes.
all year long. Like we have seen flashes of this defense looking, great, like we thought they would. But three straight plays, it's crazy that just three straight plays, but we really haven't seen it. And I think that drive just completely it clicked. And I think you've got a leader like CJ Allen, who's the quarterback of the defense, and he kind of took advantage of that moment and that room and that defense. And he was like, boys, we just got to stop. We can do it. It's not like it's impossible like we thought it was. Like let's hunker down and let's get it done one more time. In the wise words of Larry Munson, a little paraphrased right there. But I'm I'm stoked about that defense, man. I just want that if all I can ask is we can get that stop earlier in the game. So then it just clicks from then on. Like, let's get it in the first quarter on the first drive. When we've got the defense out there, and let's just build off of that momentum for the rest of the game. I've said it now like three times, but let's play four full quarters of defense. I'm really looking forward to what this defense can do and getting into form throughout the rest of the season and put four quarters together.
Absolutely, I agree. And I wanted to. You actually brought up some point in there that made me think about this. I want to read the play by play. So Ole Miss scored on their first five drives and then didn't score again the rest of the game. Like I was kind of getting at. Georgia scored every single drive. Brett Thorson is not a big fan of Gunnar Stockton right now because he's not able to do his job. But I did want to
Yeah.
read this. So this is Ole Miss first five drives. Touchdown 65 yards, touchdown 65 yards, touchdown 75 yards, touchdown 75 yards, touchdown 75 yards. And I mean, they were just demolishing us, clearly as those stats show. Hit the fourth quarter, 3 plays, punt, 0 yards. 3 plays, punt, 1 yard. Then they had 5 plays, 12 yards, turnover on downs. Georgia wins the game. So I think if anything, that shows that Georgia is the most resilient team in college football. Um, sometimes I just sit there. I don't know how we get it done. It's pretty insane how we just sometimes just find a way. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow, I'm still kind of getting over the fact that we won the game the way we did. It was amazing. It was so
Yeah.
much fun. It was so much fun to be there. As you said, the crowd really got into it. I think, and I was telling you this yesterday. I feel that it wasn't quiet early on, but it didn't feel like just a rocking environment. But once we got like that first third down into the fourth quarter, I think the fans kind of realized like, hey, we have an impact here, and it
Yeah.
was just deafening. It was an amazing experience. Something I'll never forget. Shifting a little bit away from that, though, we saw Lawson Lucky have one of the best receiving games for any Georgia player since Muhammad Massaquoi scored 3 touchdowns in 2008 against Georgia Tech. But that obviously directly credit to Lawson Lucky, great game. But it kind of brought a broader point. It brought a broader point up to me. What does Georgia's tight end room as a whole bring to the table? We saw Oscar Delp had that great catch and run a couple weeks ago against Kentucky. We really saw the speed that he truly has. We've seen some glimpses of Elias Williams. We saw him at the end of the Kentucky game. We've had a couple plays where we've thrown the ball up to him. Just overall, what does Georgia's tight end room bring to the table?
I think we talked about this a little bit last week, and I've talked about it with so many people about how we need to get the tight ends involved. And finally, it happens. And it was like an answered prayer. They've been largely absent. And I think the most interesting part about it is Georgia fans have this notion that we have to find the next Brock Bowers. That's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. He is a specimen. He's a freak of nature. He's a generational talent. And generational talent gets tossed around probably too often, but he is a generational talent. He is one of the most magnificent college football players we will ever see, especially at that position. So we don't have to ever find another Brock Bowers. Like, let him be the legend that he is. But if we have a tight end room by committee that can fill those shoes, then we can answer that prayer. We can answer that question of having the next great tight ends at the University of Georgia. And I think Delp and Lucky are a great tandem piece to get it going. I mean, we saw Elias Williams, I think, through the first 5 games was like our 5th leading receiver above Lucky and Delp. I think it was before the Kentucky game, before Delp had that long breakaway run inside the 5-yard line. And sorry, I'll turn off my notifications. I know that dinged on you. But no, it was I mean, Lucky has always been that special talent. Delp has always been that special talent. I think we're seeing some flashes of Elias Williams. I want to get Riddell in there too. I think he's a specimen. That dude is like cut like from diamond. He is built like a beast. And it's awesome to see too. I gotta throw this in there. Lawson Lucky's story is amazing. He is one of the most genuine dudes, and his brother is disabled. And every single touchdown he scored, he points at his brother, and it's cool to see because 2 of them were in the opposite end zone, on the opposite side from the scoreboard. But one of them was in that end zone where his brother sits, right there on the wall, and he got to point at him and share a special moment with his mom and his little brother. So what a moment for Lawson, and what so cool to see him have that shining moment. And back to the real question of what we can do with that tight end room, dude. We saw it. We saw it. I like that they are the most effective tight end group in the country, I think. I mean, there's obviously some great talents at tight end around the country, like Stowers at Vanderbilt. He's been awesome this year. But those 2 dudes together, in whether it's the screen game, whether it slants over the middle, whether it's a deep post route, whether it's a 50-50 ball, they have the tools in their tool belt to do anything and everything that they want against any defense in the SEC and beyond. So I'm excited to keep them involved in this offensive scheme, in this offensive game plan. And I hope this isn't just a one-off. I hope Bobo keeps finding them, because now we see Colby Young is most likely out for an extended amount of time. We got to keep these dudes involved. Dylan Bell had a great game. Zachariah Branch had a great game. I'm excited to see some of those others like London Humphrey, Sokovie White, Helton. But these tight ends, man, we got to get the ball in their hands. They're just playmakers, and I think they'll continue to do so throughout the rest of 2025.
Absolutely, I agree. How about Dylan Bell? That dude had an incredible game. I feel like he really caught a lot of crap from this Georgia fan base overall in the offseason and has just kind of proven most people wrong. I mean, he's played a great year. He's finally in his true form, his true position, and I think it's really benefited him a lot. Whereas he had to play out wide in a lot of cases when that's not really who he is as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
But it's great to see him finally in full form. Um, as you mentioned, that's such a cool story about Lawson Luck. It's great to have players like that who are just as good or better people repping the G. So that's always an exciting thing. Always loved how Todd Monken used the tight ends, and if we can get back to that with Bobo, that would be awesome. And I'm not trying to just throw that out there to start the coordinator controversy. Mike Bobo called a near perfect game. It was beautiful. So I have no complaints there, but it's something to mention that while yes, Monken did have Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington, the way he utilized his skilled tight ends was pretty awesome. I think Georgia can do a lot of the same.
yeah.
But my final question to you: where do the Dogs go from here? What's kind of your prediction for the rest of the regular season? And how do you feel about Georgia moving forward?
We talked about it a little bit. This bye week comes at the perfect time. I see it seems like our offense is firing on all cylinders. I think, like I said, the gauntlet of our schedule is largely past us. I mean, we still have the SEC to go against, but I'll tell you what, the scariest games on our schedule are the ones away from Athens. Like this game in Florida, I'm terrified of because of the whole interim thing. I feel like any team that goes in with an interim coach, they want to win one for their guy who's probably been in the system for just as long as their former head coach. They want to win just to show that they're not completely down and out, that their season's not a deadbeat protocol, and they're down and out basically. So I'm terrified of Florida. Man, I'm terrified of Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby is one of the great offensive minds in the SEC and maybe the country. I think he's got a special talent at quarterback. I think he's got some great receivers around him, and I think Mississippi State's offense has proven that they can play with the big dogs. I mean, they got that win over Arizona State. They were 4-0 or 5-0 through their first 4 or 5 games. They're a good team, and yeah, they haven't had the best of luck against some of these juggernaut SEC opponents that they've played as of recent. But man, they're a good team, and I'm scared of them. And then Tech, dude, Tech on the road in the Benz. Whew. I mean, I think Duke was the hardest game on their schedule this past weekend for the rest of the year. They should be 11-0 coming into the Georgia game. This could be a top 5 matchup. When was the last time Georgia versus Georgia Tech was a top 5?
Long time, long
I
time.
mean,
It's been 11 years since it's been ranked. That's
yeah,
how long it's been since it's been just like a genuinely good game in that
yeah.
rivalry.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Tech, even with a loss to us, is playing in the ACC championship. If they're 11-0 going into that game, they're playing in the ACC championship, and they're probably a college football playoff team, and we might have to see them again, which would be nuts. But I think they're a really good team, and going on the road, I know it's not in Bobby Dodd, but I don't think that's too frightening of an atmosphere to go into. But going to the Benz, we've played well in the Benz, so I kind of like that better than playing in Bobby Dodd. But I mean, those 3 games really terrify me. I'm obviously still scared of Texas. Charlotte should be, a hopeful easy win, but get right game before Georgia Tech. But Texas is maybe going to figure something out. That unknown, like I talked about, scares me just because they have all the talent in the world, and it just takes one day for it to click, and they could be a rock star team. So just because we've maybe gone through the gauntlet between Ole Miss being a top 5 team when we played them, Alabama just being Alabama, Tennessee and Neyland, Kentucky's always a trap game. All of those things kind of come together to create this hard slate of games that we've had as of recent. But I'm getting more and more confident as we go. I think our best football is still in front of us. I'll leave it at that. I think that's what the most positive thing about this Georgia team is right now. I think we've got so much left to prove, and I think we're on the road to really be one of those juggernauts in college football in a year when there maybe isn't that dominant force, that elite team that is just heads above like we were in 21 and 22, or like Ohio State last year come playoff time. Like Yeah, Ohio State is undefeated and they just continually rep out wins. Indiana has proven themselves as a serious contender. Bama is obviously right on the right track. Oregon's still out there, but it still feels like that playing field is pretty even, and that's a result of the parity of college football today. But I think Georgia is truly a top five team. I think we can really get out there and make some waves as come November and the latter half of this 2025 season.
You there?
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, yeah, sorry. It glitched out for a second.
No, you're good.
Um, well, Hammy, thank you so much. I appreciate you as always coming on the show. Go Dogs, great win.
Yeah,
And let's close out the year strong. I know we mentioned we got definitely some trap games for sure, but um, I believe in these guys. I know they've got a lot of talent, and I know that they've got something that maybe last year's Georgia team didn't have as much of, and that's true connection and resilience. A Kirby Smart team has always had it, and we saw it at times last year for sure. Um, but it wasn't really the biggest thing about last year's team, and this year it is probably the single biggest thing that we see in this team is true resilience and true connection.
yeah,
But anyway, thank you for coming on as always.
yeah, man. Go Dogs. Hey, are you heading down to Jacksonville for the Georgia
I
Florida
will
game?
be heading down to Jacksonville. Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Love it. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. I think Florida's going to come in with something special, but I think, like we said, these Dogs, we're getting more and more confident in them. So go Dogs, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good on.